This is my 2003 Dodge Grand Caravan. Here's the sunroof right here. And this drain hole over here on the passenger side got clogged up. And what happened was we had hellacious rains and my car flooded on the passenger side. Seems like the car is always leaning a little bit to the right. So this is the drain hole that always gets clogged up. In the past, I've just used some compressed air to clear it out, or the clog's been right near the top, and I've been able to clean it out by fishing a piece of wire through. Neither of those worked this time. What I decided to do was see if I can figure out where that drain hose went inside the car, and maybe I could do something to unclog it further down the line. I took off the piece of molding that was right here, and I found the hose. It's right there down inside, and I actually made a cut in it. I cut it, and what I was able to do was the clog was way down the bottom, so I was able to do this right here, and I put a piece of wire down it and was able to push out the clog, and it worked fine. So that's how I was able to unclog the car, because the clog was way down low and I couldn't get a wire in from the top. This is the piece of wire that I used to push down that drain hole and whack out the plug that was stuck there on the bottom. So anyways, I poured some stuff down there, and you can see that it's going right down the tube and nothing's filling up. So it's looking good. Here's a picture from outside just to see that all that stuff I just put in is just coming straight out the bottom hose, and the clog is unclogged. Here's one other thing that I did. Before I cut the hose, I took some tape and a piece of dental floss here, and I tied it onto the bottom part, because I didn't know if I cut this thing, would that bottom part fall down inside somewhere, and I'd never be able to get it out. So anyways, I did that just for safety. But what happened was I wound up actually not cutting it all the way through. I left a little spot on there, but I'm going to have to cut that to put the hose in to connect these back up. What I'm going to do is take this little piece of tube. This is a 5/16 outside diameter little piece of poly tube, and it's a couple inches long, and I'm going to put it inside the tube here. Now, I tried putting a 3/8 inch outside diameter in, and it just doesn't really go. It's just slightly too big to fit on the inside of the tube. Anyways, so let me give this a try. I decided to use more than just a short piece, because this thing kind of goes into this tube pretty easily, and I didn't want it to somehow fall down into this tube and get stuck somewhere down below. So actually what I did was I'm going to feed this down in here till it gets to the bottom and stops, and then I just bring it up just a little bit. So I'll always be able to pull this thing out if I need to, have enough to grip onto. And about this much of it will go into the top. The tube is in, connecting the two pieces of hose. Now, just as something helpful here, in order to put that hose in, the 5/16 outside diameter poly tube, it's best to make it a little bit wet, because otherwise it's not going to slide into rubber very well. So anyways, I just put some water on it, some rubbing alcohol and some water, and it worked fine. Now I have to figure out how to clamp the top and the bottom. Actually, I don't really need to clamp the bottom that much, because the water's just going to flow on out. But the top needs to be clamped so it's not coming out everywhere. I was unable to find any small clamps, but I've got some small zip ties that I'm going to put around, and I think that should work. I put 2 zip ties on the top just to be safe, to make sure it was secure and water wasn't going to come flowing out and get into the car. Put one on the bottom just to be sure that if it does get clogged in the bottom again, the water at least will stay inside the tube and not flow out, inside the body here of the car. And I'll know it's clogged up, if it's not flowing from the top on the sunroof tray. So I'm up here and I'm going to test my my drain hole there to make sure everything's flowing right. But I noticed that, oh man, this tray is just filled with crud and dirt. So I'm going to get some Windex and stuff and clean this out before I let any kind of dirt go back down into this nicely cleaned drain line. Here's the drain hole on top. I'm going to test it out here, and you can see that it's draining just fine now, going right down, not even a problem at all. So after putting the water in to check the drain on top in the sunroof tray, just looking at the bottom here where the splice is, and it's completely dry, so I know there's no leaks here. Now I can put the car back together again.